Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ACW Beyond The Yard. I am your host, Derrick Destroyer, and thank you for listening to this episode because this is the first episode in 2022. We are kicking in the new year with this episode of the podcast. And I just want to say, everybody that's listening to this, thank you for listening, and I hope you keep listening to our future content because hopefully we could return ACW pretty soon, especially in 2022, because even though we didn't have any closure, it'll be nice to have some closure, or better yet, keep the wheels in motion. It'll be pretty nice to see some crossovers or some ACW action, but for right now, we have ACW Beyond the Yard. Now, I have a guest that has never been on the show before. This guest was the two-time WWA World Crown Champion, the longest reigning WWA World Crown Champion, the first ever WWA Tag Team Champions, the first ever Grand Slam Champion in WWA, two times WWA International Champion, and one-time Glorious Case holder. Man, that sounds like a lot of accomplishments for this man. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gabriel. Why?
Thank you. The amount of accolades, I feel old.
For real, I feel old too.
I'm only 16, but I feel like it really old. I feel like I've been around the block a few times, man.
No way, you're 16 for real?
Yeah.
Wow, now I feel old.
Yeah, I think I debuted when I was, 11 or 12, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I started out young. I'm
Right.
still really young, but just hearing all these accolades, I feel like crazy old right now.
Right.
I think looking back on it, I feel like yarding itself has gotten really old, and it's a trait and that's something that's been passed down. It's like thinking just about how much I've done and how much WWA has done, how much all these companies have done, and really 5 years is kind of a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, 5 years isn't that long. You just look about all the things that yarding itself has accomplished in the community that we've made. It's just
right.
I'm still young, but it makes me feel like an old man.
I know. To me, when I see backyarding, I kind of see it like a part of our childhood, you know?
Yeah.
Like our teenager year.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you'll never get rid of it. It's something that's it's ingrained. All the people I've met from all these different companies, we had people for WWA coming from all across the country.
Wow.
The people and the community and the outlook and outreach you get just by wrestling in a backyard. It's insane. It's just
to me, if I didn't do backyarding, I don't know what I would have done with my life if I was going to be completely honest.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Because what I'm trying to say is that we did, backyarding, growing up, but if we didn't do it, I feel like our life would have been not exactly 100% different, but it would have been a huge difference.
Yeah, you got to think about all the time and effort that you put into it, all the people that you meet. That's really how Carson and Luke and Dylan Spurlock. Us four. We were good friends, I guess you'd say, but in school. But in once we hit backyarding, it's like a brotherhood, and it's no matter how much, even if you try to get rid of it, yarding is something that you just can't really get rid of or grow out of.
Sure, there might be some conflicts between one another, behind the curtain, but it still brings us together no matter what.
Yeah, and of course, I have a feeling that you probably got questions to ask and stuff like that, and
right.
there's things that I'll say about people that kind of screwed up production and people that screwed up booking and people that kind of, I don't want to say screwed me over with my career, but those people, even though they they make you mad sometimes, and they kind of, you can say, ruined your career. Those are still brothers in this thing.
Right. No, because the reason is why we talk about that is because I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna blow your mind away. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. The first episode of Beyond the Yard was aired January the 8th, 2020.
Wow.
Almost 2 years.
That's crazy. It's almost on the dot 2 years.
For real. Because by the time the video gets uploaded, the podcast, it's going to be uploaded on January the 5th, 2022.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, we were talking about, a little bit before the podcast,
Uh-huh.
like something like this, a podcast that people can come on and tell their stories. Like, it's something that backyarders and like people just need. And like to
Mm-hmm.
be doing it for 2 years now, and like I was talking about the outreach and like the people that you can like talk to earlier, but like something like this is like podcast is something that's never really been done before with like backyarding and stuff like that. And
Exactly.
yeah, and it's something that I think was much needed. And like I said, I'll give you props, for kind of stepping beyond the comfort zone of yarders.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's something special.
Because, like, people, like, I mean, I don't watch a football. Like, do you watch football or no?
Yeah, I'm a big sports guy. Big sports guy.
Okay. I mean, I'm a professional fan guy, so. No, but the reason why I tell you that is because, like, there's something I don't know about football. Like, I hear about fantasy football. Like, what is that?
Well, it's how to describe fantasy football. It's kind of like you draft players.
See, this is why I watch professional wrestling.
You draft players onto your team, and then based
Okay.
on how they play in real life, you get points. And then you face people every week, and whoever gets more points with their team wins.
Interesting.
The many ways that people have managed to use football into other competitive sports is insane to me.
Wow. I mean, the last time I played on Madden was Madden 2003, but that was on the PS2.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a gamer, so yeah, an antique retro gamer. No, cause like in every sport, like there's a podcast based from the sport. Like
Yeah.
football, like there's podcasts about that.
Yeah.
Soccer, there's podcasts about that. Professional wrestling, there's podcasts about that.
Yeah, but like, and you think about how popular those podcasts are because there's so much that people, like you don't know so much about things just by watching it on TV, right? Like you can watch a
Right.
football game and you don't know much about it, but it's the podcasts and stuff where you get a lot of your information from. That's why like the backyarding podcast, there's so much story left to tell, and it's like this is something that's been needed for a long, long time.
Right. And you could hear like their origins and their, background stories that, maybe it's not shown on, YouTube television, if I could say that,
Yeah,
on YouTube pretty much.
yeah. Like
But
there's like if you like look at the people, think about the people you watch, on backyard wrestling channels, right? And like I think people tend to forget, like you see them as a wrestler on a YouTube channel, but you tend to forget that most of these people are like teenagers, right?
mm-hmm.
Like they have a full life that you know nothing about, and like
Right.
you listen to a podcast about it, and there's like you understand so much more about the struggles and like being a yarder.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Spider-Man, like everybody knows Spider-Man, but nobody knows, Peter Parker. Like
Yeah,
Peter Parker's, he has trouble with rent, I guess like
yeah,
dating relationship, just Peter Parker, he
yeah,
struggles. Even he's a teenager, but like people don't see him because everybody sees him as Spider-Man.
yeah. It's there's like, and I don't want to, I don't want to be, I guess, insulting to yarding fans, but like that's the thing that makes a lot of companies go under is the stress of like having to produce and pump out videos every single week and having to
Right.
like film videos and edit videos and do all that. Like with WA, I think Mania 3, there would be times where we would film 30 to 40 matches a weekend. And then we'd have to like
Wow.
constantly edit and work on it. And you got to think, you
Uh-huh.
got to add all that stuff in with like, high school sports and school and relationships and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, there's a lot more to being a yarder than what meets the eye.
I know.
Like, you're not, you got to get into your head that you're not watching like YouTubers, you're watching people try to entertain you.
Mm-hmm. Because like to me, like when people do backyarding on YouTube, it's different compared to people like making like gaming videos or vlogging.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference. Like people could make video games on practically anything. Like there's like,
Yeah.
countless of video games they can make videos on. Like vloggers, they could come up with so many ideas and they do it. But with like backyarding, it's kind of hard because there's time consuming. There's if
Yeah.
people arrive or not. There's you know the timing. Like relationship. School in
Yeah.
general. Like it kind of hard because you have to be on the arena. Where you guys film at,
Yeah.
and depends how much in the storyline because there's also got to be a storyline
Yeah.
behind it. You can't just wrestle and that's it.
Yeah. Most like other YouTubers, they can just kind of make whatever they want to and just throw it out, and then that's it. But with
Mm-hmm.
with backyard wrestlers, you have to book a story, and if the story it doesn't work well, you're going to receive criticism for it.
Right.
So being like a yarder, there's like so much like criticism coming in, and you have to do things not based on how you think it's going to work, but you have to make videos based on a fan base that you don't really know how they're going to react to it.
Right.
And there's a whole level of uncertainty with booking, and then with filming the matches, and with how should my gimmick correlate to this story, and who should be in these storylines and all that kind of stuff. And it's
Right. I
like,
mean, mm-hmm.
yeah, but you go ahead, you go ahead.
Okay, because I was gonna say like it's kind of like if you're a comedian, like you want to win over the fans because if you don't, then like they won't like
Yeah,
be vibing with you, and if they don't vibe with you, then you kind of lose that comedy like
yeah,
appeal, I guess. Because with comedy, you always have to come up with new material. You can't just. I mean, I guess you could
yeah,
repeat the same thing, once in a while, but you can't always do the same thing.
yeah,
Because if you keep doing the same stuff over the same, if you keep doing, the same matches, the same storylines each weekend and week out, then the fans are just gonna lose, intention. I guess like that. That's what you're
yeah,
saying.
and interest.
Mm-hmm. There
Like
you go.
like most comedians, like it's kind of like you need to be one with the fans. You got to think like the fans would. So plenty
Right.
of times, now I towards the end of my run, and towards the end of WWA's run, I wasn't a part of the booking, but back in like 20, I'd say 18, 2019, Luke, and Carson were the main bookers of the show, and it's like we would have a storyline, built to perfection, but then you have to say, well, what would the fans think about it? And you can't, like, just like comedians, you don't write jokes based off the fact that they're funny. You write jokes based off the fact that other people will think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you're booking stories and you're booking all these, different, and I'd say this is one of the things that WWA did better than most other companies is we didn't just make storylines. We made storylines that we knew the fans would like relate to and would
Right.
like show reactions to, which is something that most yarding companies are losing the, I guess like you said, the appeal of is you gotta book, you gotta wrestle, you gotta act according to the fans, not according to you.
Mm-hmm. Because the way I see it, like this is just on me. Well, I don't know if people could relate, but like because I also have a YouTube channel, it's called Efrenation. I don't know if you heard about it, but like I like to make video projects and all that. Sometimes I'll be making like skits, vlogging, or gaming. But like to me, I kind of have to like see myself from a fan's point of view. Like if they think
Yeah,
they're gonna like it, then they're gonna like it. But if I start doing this and they might not like it, then that's when you have to change up a thing or two.
yeah. Me and Carson, actually, we used to like write short films, and we used to like movie scripts when we were back in high school, and I mean
Okay.
I'd say more middle school. And it's
Okay.
like you, whenever you're making a movie script, you just write the movie, right? And
Mm.
you have the thoughts in your head, and you just produce it, like you just write them all down. But like like I constantly repeat, I have a bad tendency of repeating myself, but like you can't write what you think. You got to put this match here, and then how the fans gonna react, and then you got to
Mm-hmm.
put this segment here, but then how the fans gonna react.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's so much going into it. People just see like a 30-minute video on a throwdown, and they assume that 30 minutes go into it. But in reality, we would spend weeks booking, then we'd spend whole weekends filming, then we'd spend even more weeks editing it. And it's like you do all that work for a 30-minute video to get like, a few thousand views.
Right. Wow, that's good to hear. Now knowing that you were one of the bookers for WWA, since you guys have booked, matches and storylines, have there been times where you guys book, a match or a storyline or a video, but like you guys might have to change it too because this person didn't show up or something happened or
Yes, that has happened a lot more than what we'd like to admit. There was
okay.
plenty of times, like the person I'd say that kind of threw in the biggest wrench was, you probably know as Marshall Outlaw, if you kind of remember. He had a shorter stint with us.
Okay.
I'll now refer to him as Dustin because that was his name. Dustin had this unmatched like athleticism. The dude was a freak. He's like
Wow.
6'1", he's probably like 215, huge guy, and he was great as a wrestler. But I guess as we got older, he kind of lost the want to. So we had this big run planned for him where he was going to, turn heel, win the world title, and that kind of stuff. And we had booked it for like months ahead. And then all of a sudden, he just stopped showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you watch some of our older content, back in like whenever we first started, there used to be like 10, 15 people that was wrestling just from our school.
I remember something like that.
Yeah, but as we got older, it's like there was more and more people just dropping off. And I think the biggest thing, and I guess I'll mention this now, my Mania, I want to say 4, I faced Eclipse. I don't know if you saw that match or not.
Can't recall, but go on.
I was actually supposed to face Jake Frost at Mania, and I was supposed to retire the El Omega character.
Okay.
But then, certain things happened with, backyard, drama backstage, and, him being like stiff and him not being safe to work with, and then that fell through. And then we had like another guy planned to face me. Then we had this other guy planned to face me. But over the weekend, they kept dropping out. So eventually we just had to say, okay, you're going to fight Eclipse. And we had they let me know that, because that's more towards when I stopped booking. They let me know probably a few days before that I was facing Eclipse. And that's all the notice I got for that.
Mm-hmm. If I could recall, had you ever had a match with Jake Frost?
No. I was supposed to, but with his stint with our, company for a little bit, he was, being really stiff. Like there was one time where he punched, was supposed to punch Carson, and just full like closed fist decked him, and like Carson started bleeding everywhere, right? And then he's telling me the match that we were gonna have, and there was barbed wire in it, and there was gonna be like all these crazy things, and I was just kind of like, no. So we told Jake that we wasn't gonna invite him back down, but that was supposed to be the time I faced Jake, but that got canceled, so no, I never faced him at all.
I see. I mean, I'm not trying to say this because I want to flex on you or anything, but, I did have a match with Jake Frost when I had, my first ever crossover with JNA. And unfortunately, it didn't air, but, like, I mean, I guess it was like a never-before-seen match, but we uploaded it on ACW. So I had a match with him, it was going all well. But so there was a spot where he had me in an armbar, and I try to, pick him up and drop him, I think you've seen that maneuver before.
Yeah.
So I was going to do that, but like he probably, not necessarily didn't want to work with me, but like he probably like didn't understand what I was trying to do with him, and so I tried to use my raw strength to lift him, and I kind of got him like halfway, but like I dislocated my knee in the process.
I did see that actually. I don't remember where. I just remember that that was showed backstage. I think Luke showed it to me. He said that there was this video that I needed to watch, and I saw you lift him up. I saw like your knee buckle, and I was like, that was also one of the driving factors, because throughout the entire weekend that we was filming with Jake, and like Carson would never cancel a match midway through.
Okay.
Right? Because Carson, even though Carson could be stiff at times, even though Carson, would have a bad match, Carson had this mentality of, we're gonna power through this match and we're gonna get this match done. that weekend he canceled 2 matches alone because Jake wouldn't sell, and it was a 15-minute match of them just kind of standing there, just kind of looking at each other because he kind of wouldn't give. And I told Luke and them, I was like, this Mania match is supposed to launch me to my big world title run. I was like, and I don't think that me and Jake's gonna have that good of a match. And for my safety and for to have a good show, I told them, and we just decided not to pull the trigger on the match.
Right. No, I mean, it kind of sucked because not only 2020 was a bad year, but at the beginning of the year, I made a promo 2020 that I called out all these wrestlers. I kind of did this Negan gimmick promo. I don't know if you heard of it, but I kind of got heated by some wrestlers, which I guess that's kind of the point, but not necessarily, because that's kind of like a thing that you never seen before. So I don't know how people or backyarders or the fans will think about it, and which was kind of good, because if people not necessarily hated oh my god, he's gonna do this, I thought this is gonna happen, which one, I was trying to prove them wrong, because my goal in 2020 was to actually go to different federations and have a match with them. I don't even care if I won, lost, or even had a draw with them. The point was doing a crossover.
Yeah,
because a lot of people done it, especially EBW and MEBW, they have done big crossovers, but to me, I see them as the big leagues, and of course you could see that happening because they're the big leagues, but you don't really see much in the little leagues. Because when I see WWA, I feel they're up there. I don't know how ACW is. Sure, we might not be big as EBW, but we're just trying to not only have fun, but not exactly trying our best, but because the main point is just having fun in backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like that's what kind of gets lost with backyard wrestling, is that it's supposed to be fun.
Right.
It's supposed to be, younger people just kind of having fun on a trampoline, messing around. And I don't know, but somewhere along the way, we kind of lost it, lost the love for it and lost the fun in it, and just started making like we were big time, WWE companies and AEW.
Maybe it's just like a phrase or a phase that just happens within us,
Yeah, it must have just been us getting older, because there's so many times we'd be filming, recently, and we just look back on how much fun and how little we cared about, when this got uploaded and all that kind of stuff.
Because to me, I'm a nostalgia person. I don't know if that's even a thing, but to me, I like to make memories and looking back and just kind of remembering, those times.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like about YouTube, because, hopefully, YouTube doesn't take over content, because I remember in 2020, YouTube has taken off some content from different channels. Hopefully it wasn't none of ours or yours or everybody's, but what I'm trying to say is I like YouTube because we can make videos and upload it, and 20 or 30 years later we could look back at it and be like, man, those were the times. I remember when when we were all together and stuff like that, because it's all about making memories.
Yeah. And like you said, you're a nostalgia person. Look, I was looking back at some of our really old videos just a few days ago. And it's looking back at how you spend so much time and growing up. You can watch yourself grow up from a viewer standpoint.
I know.
And it's just that's why I love yarding so much, because of it's just I can't really describe it other than yarding is a vibe.
I know.
People, there's just it's a certain kind of people with a certain kind of fan base. And it's even though over the way, we've made it less fun and more like a company, there's still so many memories and so many great matches and great segments that people still see.
When I was in high school, because I started ACW towards the end of middle school, but ever since I got to high school, I never actually did a sport. Sure, in middle school I did cross country and track, but I was so obsessed with backyarding that I kind of treated that as my sport. I mean, I'm not saying backyard wrestling is a sport, but it kind of has a sport vibe, because you have to what is it called, have endurance, you have to have strength for some spots, just be active. Sometimes you have to look good in front of the camera. When I'm saying that, like sometimes people like to be, fit and all that, but you don't have to be, fit and muscular. Like there's like some dudes that are like, big or slim or like, maybe not, they don't have muscles at all, but they could do flips and, they could just do that. And that's what I like, because in sports, I don't know if you have to, have a certain weight or, you can't be fat. Maybe like I was talking about cheerleader wise, but like that's what sport is. Sometimes you have to, be this or that to be able to participate. But backyard wrestling, you could, be yourself, and that's what's great about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Like, well, yeah, like you were saying with sports, like you have to keep yourself up to a certain level. But with
Mm-hmm.
backyard wrestling, it's like there's no limits.
Right.
You can be big, small, tall, little, whatever. And it's like that's just what backyard wrestling is. If you go to like WWE and AEW and ROH and all that kind of stuff, there's a certain look that people's looking for. But
Right.
with yarding, it's just you. If you have the want to, you have the motivation, and you go, you can become great at backyard wrestling.
Right. Because like in WWF, for example, like in the 80s especially, like people saw wrestlers, as huge, like Hulk Hogan or Mr. Perfect or, Roddy Piper. Like they had that, wrestler look.
Yeah,
But nowadays you could see like Finn Balor. I mean, he's muscular, but he's a small dude. Who
yeah,
else? Darby Allin. He might not, have that physique look, but he has the guts. Like the Hardy Boys, for an example, they were not like very muscular. Maybe Matt was, but you know, they were themselves. That is kind of
yeah,
like a good comparison, if I could say.
yeah. I mean, you look at people like the Hardy Boys, the Young Bucks, the Briscoes, like those people started as yarders too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a reason why they're so popular and so loved now is because ever since they were little, they've just been themselves.
Right.
They haven't tried to change themselves to what people's looking for. They've just kind of done what they've always been able to do.
Mm-hmm. But hopefully, things goes well for everybody. Like I don't know if, like for an example, the future backyard, backyard, communities that's listening to this, if they still want to do backyarding, go right ahead. Like nothing's stopping you.
Yeah,
Sure, it might not, help you once you actually want to, go pro, but like remember, this is just for fun. Like there's actually
yeah,
like no, achievements that, will help you in pro, but like you can make achievements that, will make you feel good, just in your life in general.
yeah. I'd say that the memories from doing this for a few months,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much greater than like like I guess the embarrassment you'd say because
Right.
like if your friends from school find out, it's embarrassing, right?
At
They like
first, it kind of is.
yeah, but but like looking back on it, the memories that you've made along the way,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean backyard wrestling, even though most bookers and like for professional companies, they don't like backyarders, but like you can become good just at wrestling and knowing the company, knowing the industry from doing
Mm-hmm.
it in a backyard.
Right. Because backyard is just, the start of it.
Yeah, I mean I think I mean not to say stuff about my own company, but with WA, we'd say this is where legends are made. The backyard
Mm-hmm.
is where like wrestlers are born.
Right. There was something I was gonna say. Let's see if I can remember. Crap, I can't remember. But I think I was gonna say something like, "Oh yeah, I remember. I'm gonna tell you a little story since we were talking on the topic of when people found out that you were started backyarding. Like it's kind of embarrassing. But with me, like I always been like a wrestling fan ever since I was little. I can't remember when because I was so little, but like I was so obsessed with wrestling that I told my friends because they're not 100% fans like me, but like they'll watch it with you sometimes if you could relate.
Yeah,
But like for an example, like me and my friends we came up with an idea like, hey, what if we just make wrestling videos on YouTube? If people that like if they do like top 50 moves on trampoline and they make good views, why not? Why can't we do it? And
yeah,
sure, at the time we were kind of thinking of the idea, oh, we should make views and hopefully we can make money because YouTubing. But like at the time, you're young and you're not probably thinking as how you are right now because we see it YouTube differently compared to how we were younger.
yeah,
But when I started YouTubing, like I was so like, positive about it. Like I told my friends about it. I kind of like not necessarily try to over promote it, but like just spread it, if I could say it.
Yeah.
Cause like when you spread it, that's when you start picking up. Cause I mean, I don't know if you have anything to say about this, but like I can't really recall like how it started getting big, but like I remember when it was like small, like when it was just like a small channel compared to how it got included to the backyard community.
Well, I remember that because I was homeschooled for a time for like 3 years, and then I
Okay.
had gone back to the middle school where I would met Carson or whatever, and Carson was a huge wrestling fan, and we kind of bonded over that. And Carson was like, he's like, I don't know if you know this, but I have a YouTube channel,
Okay.
and so I was super interested, because like you said at the time, for your friends having YouTube channels wasn't something you'd hear of every day.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so like I was super interested, and I was like, "What's his channel over?" And he's like, it's wrestling. So he showed me it, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had asked him all of my sixth grade year for an entire year to join WWA, and he'd always, now's not a good time or whatever. Or we haven't been filming lately, but eventually by seventh grade, he'd kind of like let me join in on the channel or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, we're at like 80 subscribers.
Right.
But over us kind of grinding and just kind of making stuff and putting it out there, we got into like maybe 400 subscribers, and that's when MEBW noticed us. And
Wow.
then we had that crossover. The views just skyrocketed, and I guess you'd say the rest is history. We just started pumping stuff out weekly, and people I guess just noticed us and fell in love.
Now that you brought that up, like I remember the times when, like how you said, when you don't get to hear a lot of, oh, I have a YouTube channel, especially when they're a wrestling channel, because if you could find like a wrestling, friend or group of friends that love wrestling and they check out your channel, like they'll be like hyper. They'll be like, "Oh, dang, that's cool!" And like
Yeah,
once the video gets uploaded, and the next day you see your friend that's cool, they'll be like, "Damn, bro, you kick his ass! I can't believe that table spot was like badass." Like hearing
yeah,
that feedback is just like great, and like will keep you like helping, keeping the wheels in motion. And like I miss the high school feeling because when you get to make videos, because like to me when I was in high school I was the backyarder slash YouTuber. So we'll be making videos. I'll kind of be promoting it like, hey guys, hopefully you can check out this match this Sunday. We're gonna have like a tables match. Hopefully we're gonna do crazy stuff. Hopefully you guys could check it out if you want to. We would love the support. Kind of like a fan base. You could say like the high school was kind of like people's like the
yeah.
backyard's fan base, and that's one thing I miss in general.
Yeah. I think it was maybe last year during school, one of like substitute teachers that everyone was in loves
Mm-hmm.
would actually like broadcast episodes of our throwdown on the whiteboard
Wow.
for it'd be like 20, 30 kids at a time, and he'd just have it on all day long and
Mm-hmm.
would constantly have, people watching or whatever. And, he was probably doing it, kind of to tease, kind of make a little bit of a joke.
Okay.
But but our audience was actually growing because there's people that watch that kind of stuff and they're like, this thing is so crazy and it's so wacky that it's interesting and it's fun to watch.
Right.
It's
And like,
watching.
okay, go. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
It's like watching young people take something that adults do, but them doing it. I don't want to say better, but putting their own spin on it to where it's more fun to watch. It feels more relatable and more at home to other
Right.
people.
Because when you mentioned that, like, you don't have to, be rich. You don't have to have like,
Yeah,
high tech camera. Like, depends, how you wrestle. Like, it could be on a trampoline. It could be, on an actual backyard ring. It could be on the ground. It could be anywhere. It's just,
yeah,
you have the camera. You have, the boys. Hopefully, depends which channel does it. Sometimes it could feature girls. But like, what I'm trying to say is, you don't need to be, high class or anything. You could just, pick up a camera
yeah.
and just start having fun.
It,
And how you mentioned that, now we're not trying to be better, but like we get to, put our own spin. But like
Yeah.
own spin, when you say that, like that's cool because we get to use our imagination. We could use our creativity that like we could see storylines or like bookings or matches that we probably haven't seen before or recently.
Yeah. And it's kind of, goes to show when you think about, Vince McMahon and Tony Khan, anything that they book, there's always that group of people that thinks of how they could book it better.
Right.
And they like to book things themselves. If
Mhm.
you're a backyarder, you get to book whatever you want.
It's kind of like my general manager mode,
Yeah. But it's like my GM mode, but it's real.
For real.
And it's like it's such something so special that was made that's lasted for so long. It's really hard to wrap your mind around. Like, it's kids doing what adults do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I think people have kind of lost the art of, and people stop caring about. But like, this is where the next generation is coming from.
Right. Like that's what I like about it, because in the 2000s, like there was backyard wrestling. I think it was like late 1990s when like people started doing backyard wrestling, but like it was like the extreme hardcore wrestling,
Yeah.
And I mean, when I first watched it, like I thought it was like, dang, like okay, but like now rewatching it, it's like, bro, what are you even doing? Like, I understand, trying to do extreme spots, but like I feel like not necessarily that's too much, but like it's kind of like telling a story, not like using the foreign objects or using the table for an example.
Yeah, which it's something that I think is even crazier to think about is, like you said, people in the 90s, they would, just do crazy extreme stuff and whatever, and people would love it. But like, you're having 16, 17, 18-year-olds booking full wrestling shows that are amazing to watch.
Because like, sorry to interrupt, but like, compare backyard wrestling back then compared to like our backyard wrestling, there's a huge gap. There's huge, well, they were just wrestling. Like, I guess they were trying to put on just being crazy, maybe being themselves, but like, you know what I mean? But like compared to our backyard wrestling, like we try to be like, maybe not trying to be like them, but like kind of mimic, but remember, trying to have fun while at it. Because, how I said earlier, like, and that's what it was. Like how you said, it's like general manager mode, but in real life. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. There's just something that's like the creativity involved.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an idea, you can make so much come from that one singular idea.
Right.
Which, I mean, if you was to ask me if, like, some of my favorite wrestlers, one of them's got to be Randy Orton. Because there's something so simplistic. He doesn't got to do crazy flips. He's not, crazy athletic. It's just wrestling. It's pure wrestling at its finest.
Right.
And when you look at yarding, it's like there's people, that do the crazy stuff, but like just the booking and like watching how younger people are making such big and great shows.
Even the editing, like you can't like forget about the editing.
Yeah. It like now, granted, if I was to try to do editing, I'd show how old I am because I have no clue how to do that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But like the editing, the booking, the wrestlers, like people forget that these are 18 like teenagers putting on this level of wrestling in a backyard. That's insane.
And keep in mind, like I don't know how you say, like, backyard channels, let's say that, like those are way different compared to like, your average YouTube channel, because it's your basic, it shows a YouTuber, walking around or like, doing something for the first time. But like our channels, like our productions or products, like we're doing a show pretty much. We're trying to entertain you, and we always have to come up with new materials. And like on editing, like for example with ACW, I was one of the bookers, so I have to keep in charge of the matches, the storylines. Like I have to try to bring out new people so we could have like new wrestlers coming in and out, because when we started we had that mistake where we used the same 3 or 4 people like week in and week out. Like back then we couldn't like blame ourselves because we're just doing it and we didn't know what was best for us. But like now, right now, like you have to come up with like good storylines because we're thinking differently compared to how we were back then. And since I was the editor, it was kind of hard because you know like I'm a backyard wrestler, I'm a high school student, I got my personal life. I mean, luckily I didn't have any relationship problems because I didn't have a relationship, which was kind of sad. But like it kind of saved me the trouble. But like I was all this, and the thing that was kind of defining me was the backyarding because it kind of helped me be someone. Like maybe I didn't have a role model. I was kind of like myself. Like myself was the role model. Like Derrick Destroyer. Like he was this goofy backyarder who like maybe talks a bunch of trash, but like he actually could kick ass.
Yeah.
And maybe other people could relate as well. Like what if like they had troubles at high school, or they had troubles with relationships, and they still wanted to do backyarding. Like they would put like a lot of effort, and like maybe not make time for family just to make YouTube videos. Like those people, like I gotta give credit to, because I could relate to those people.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the funniest stories I've had to tell in my entire yachting career was,
Okay.
there was one week we had off school. I think it was Memorial Day weekend, and my family was planning a big get together. But we was all planning to film the same weekend, so I legitimately had to cancel on family plans to go film backyard wrestling for a weekend.
Wow.
Like this, the sacrifice that goes into it.
Uh-huh.
And I think, I'm probably different than most yarders in the sense of people never got to see what I was actually capable of.
Right.
Most yarders, leave, and they kind of like, they're like looking back on it, reminiscing. I don't want to say I've left yarding because I still think I got gas within the tank to do more.
Okay.
Good other channels, all that kind of stuff. But like, I've kind of left with more frustration with how the channel ended, and how people, how other channels are ending.
Mm.
And it's just, I guess it's a mix of the fans and it's not like the fans are demanding, but like the fans would expect that, like, week after week after week after week. And it's like the sacrifice and what goes into these videos, no one knows.
Mm.
And I would say that like I've been texting you about it, and before the podcast I even told you that I got a lot of pent up frustration.
Yeah.
From the fans that are not demanding, but they're expecting too much of kids doing this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, that it's incredible the fact that younger teenagers are doing this kind of stuff, but like, it's young teenagers, people with full lives, and you're expecting something weekly, or even twice a week, or stuff like that. And it's like, that's, I think, the biggest frustration I don't have leaving yarding, is that because fans expected so much, people would get burnt out on it.
Well, now that you said it, like, I've been thinking about what you just said right there, and that's true, because like ever since backyarding started with ACW, like I kind of saw that not necessarily as a hobby, but like maybe something that's more than a hobby, where you kind of not necessarily you need to do it, but like you want to do it. It's just a part of your life, lifestyle, I guess. It's just something that you do when you're in that part of life. But what was I gonna say? Sorry, my steel chair fell. I don't know why. Gave me a big goosebumps. Hopefully I don't have to use it tonight. No, but what was I saying? Yeah, younger teenagers doing this. Like, just imagine what they could do, like, in the near future, when they have, like, the right great like this.
Yeah. There's like so much that can come from yarding alone. But I think that people that are doing yarding and people that are watching yarding need to realize that this is supposed to be fun. If the channel you're watching doesn't put a video out a week, don't be like, spamming them quick, like, why didn't you guys upload? Realize, okay, they might have had something going on. Because the more you expect and the more you demand of people, they're going to get burnt out. And I think that's where a lot of, why there's not as many, wrestlers trying to make a name for themselves and like in the pro world, because they get burnt out as kids.
Right. Like, first of all, like, you got to give them credit because, depends, if they upload, shows, not every day, but like if they do it, every week, every month, probably like there's people that actually like make videos like every 3 months or so because, they have their lives or like because they can't, be able to do it because other people hasn't showed up. Like, remember, people have lives. You can't just, like how you said, you can't, like people expect that, next week. But remember, this ain't, actual, shows or actual companies. These are just, teenagers just, doing this not only for fun, but it's just something that they enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if the audience was bigger, and I mean, honestly, if people like, the yarding companies were maybe making money off of this kind of stuff, then it'd be different. But
Right.
like, if WBA's made any money, it's little to none.
Mm-hmm.
And it's most the money we do make probably ended up going back into buying, kendo sticks and chairs and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
It's like there's not much that backyarders get from backyarding other than like the experience. But then when people start from the outside are nagging about, they like, you should upload this week, then it loses the fun sense of it, and it loses the point of what backyarding is. And just by demanding videos can kill off the next generation of wrestlers that come from yarding.
Right. No, like I'm sure, like a problem that we kind of had with ACW, because at the start we thought of the idea, doing backyard wrestling, making shows and whatnot, but we kind of also had the idea of making money, but we also had fun at it. Don't get me wrong, but like when you're younger, you kind of want to be thinking, oh, I want to make money out of this. I mean, it's possible. Like, don't get me wrong, like it's possible you can make money out of YouTube. It just depends how you pull it off or how much effort you put behind it. So, 1 year after ACW existence, we'll be making, matches. But like sometimes we even had people that saying, hey, when are we going to get paid or whatnot? Like what they don't know about me, not only I was, the one of the bookers, but I was, one of the guys that would put like, money into ACW because I thought that the other people would, put the same effort as I would be doing to them, but like I'll be, spending money on cakes because sometimes we have like, we'll be celebrating about, the 1 year or like, years of existence or, if it's someone's birthdays, like I'll be like, buying new chairs, a new table, new camera equipment, new stuff like that. But like other people from like my federation, they wouldn't put, they wouldn't chip in or something like that because not necessarily I would expect them to do it, but like if they don't, help me, pay for some stuff, and they kind of ask me, hey, you promise you're gonna do this, so where is it? It kind of like defeats the purpose of doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Like it's good to like, put money behind it so you could like, have some material to work with, but like if let's say your crew, kind of has issues with you, then that's kind of like what frustrates me. Like I'm sure, not only you, but like other people could relate that, sometimes there'll be some frustrations between one another.
Yeah. That, I mean, if you want to go into it later or whatever, there's like, there were so many booking opportunities to like, to put me in bigger, I don't know, you probably don't remember, but there was a time when WWA had like a Wrestler of the Year awards kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And whenever the votes came in, we was expecting Carson to win by a landslide, Luke to get second, me get third, Dylan get fourth, right? But after we got all the votes in, I like easily won first place.
Okay.
I think I actually doubled the second place votes. So like it was a landslide. But after that, we just kind of they like because that was when I stopped booking. They didn't touch on that I was the fan favorite and just kind of let it sit.
Right.
And then they was putting Carson and Luke in a world title match, and Carson and Luke. And meanwhile, I was sitting there kind of questioning how I just won Wrestler of the Year, and we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to book based off how the fans feel. And I just kind of sat in the mid card for another year or two, just kind of watching.
And
it has definitely led to some frustrations between friends and people that's booking the shows, which I would say is probably the biggest thing that causes frustration other than the fans is that, like, I believe personally, you read off all the accolades, and I will say I'm grateful for the opportunities I was given, but like I was capable of giving so much more than a mid-card show for 5 years, and I won't say, where, because that stuff's going to be, secret and stuff like that, but I have been looking into going to other companies.
Okay.
And visiting other people, because it's like the way that WWE ended was on such a bad note, and I feel like I just wasted 5 years, like as in I could have been used more. I have way too much left,
Right.
and I'm not gonna let frustrations with other bookers, hold me back. So you got to cut the ties with them and expand to new opportunities and other companies elsewhere.
Right. Like, it's not necessarily, it's best for business, but sometimes it's, it's good to do what's best for you. Like, it's not called, being selfish. It's just called being self-interest, like you don't want to be doing something that not, make you look good, but like, it's good to do something that would, like, not only make yourself look good, but like, have, a better motion with you if you keep going with it,
Yeah. Which, I think it's not okay. I don't even really know if I have the kind of, the right to say, but WWA had filmed more than allowed to, because it's been, I don't know how many months since we've uploaded last, but we had filmed content for like months. Our the channel wasn't supposed to end until, like, I would say this summer,
Okay.
and it ended last summer.
Wow.
And I don't know if you had seen it, but I was, putting stuff on my wrestling account and stuff, like, I put the 9/26/21 date.
Yeah, I remember I saw that not long ago.
Yeah, and it's, people was questioning it. I kept saying waving bye to the company or whatever. And I guess, I'm going to come forward and say now it was all a work. All a work. I was staying with the company, but what the plan was that since I was a glorious case holder, I was supposed to become a free agent, right? Disappear for a month, and I was supposed to return, cash in my briefcase, win the World Cup title, and have another 6-month long reign, and then end the company as the champion. But as story would have it, we had a filming that was filming my title reign, and due to really everyone being burnt out, because the setup of the weekend that we spent to film it was terrible. So everyone just said that they said we don't feel like filming anything.
Okay.
So my 6-month long title reign that was supposed to justify me waiting 5 years for Gabriel White to get this opportunity all got scrapped.
Wow.
All of it got thrown away.
That must be horrible, to be honest.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing I was telling with frustrations. The only thing that we filmed about was 2 matches with Corey Bacon, and I filmed 1 match with Rez Gainer, and those 3 matches never got uploaded. So when I talk about frustrations and why I kept telling you, like, my story about WWA is going to be, interesting, is you look at, Carson Michaels, you look at Lucas Jackson, all these people that have gotten this opportunity. I was one of the only people that was begging to be on this YouTube channel. I was one of the most promising younger stars on the channel, as we put it. And then I waited on the mid card. I had that year-long reign with Legion Black, that like my demon character, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't know is that not even 2 months into the reign, I was miserable, emotionally and mentally, because showing up extra early to tapings, putting on the makeup and putting screaming all the time and just playing a demon is really great.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do that for a whole year, and it's like I had to keep waiting for Gabriel White, the character that I've been putting so much effort into, to finally get that world title reign.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, when all of it was supposed to come to fruition, I finally get that big moment.
Mm-hmm.
Everything got thrown in the trash can.
Man, I wish you could find. I mean, I don't know how big your city is, but like, I mean, is you guys' like city pretty big, or is it like an average or small town, or?
It's where we live is super small town, like
Okay.
incredibly small town.
Mm-hmm.
We're right, we're like an hour from Cincinnati, which is a huge city.
Wow.
But it's like when I kept telling you, over text, I was like, my story is not what people's going to expect. When people were texting me, whenever we had announced I was going to be on the podcast or whatever, they would expect me to come over, come on the podcast and say stuff about, how much fun it was and how, good of a run it was. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, I feel like I just wasted 5 years.
Wow.
Because when I finally got my big opportunity, everything got scrapped.
No, because the reason why I asked that is because, like, I'm not saying this like booking wise, but like in a backyard federation, like you need talent, you need like backyarders.
Yeah.
Because you need them to help with the storylines. Because if you don't have any backyarders, then there's like no really a point of having a backyard channel.
Yeah.
Because we live in these, I guess not exactly a big town, maybe like a city, because we have like 27,000 people in our city.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, it's a lot because I know my town and it's not pretty huge. Like we have downtown and that's it. Because I live in a trailer park and it's like the south of the town.
Yeah.
Because like we always wanted to recruit new people. Like sure, we may have found people that are interested, but they never had a chance to show up. Maybe they didn't want to, maybe they changed their minds. But
Yeah.
like with ACW, I kind of had a problem because we had this wrestler who won the ACW champion, and he was 149 days, so he was the longest reigning champion at the time, and he won the champion. He made an appearance the next episode, but he hasn't showed up ever since. To us, that was like a punch in the nut, because why would he win the champion but no longer be on the channel? Like on some channels, like a lot of kids or teenagers, they want to be the champion because it's just something cool. It's like a trophy, you're like the champion of the channel. But this dude, the person that was the champion, like he didn't even care, which kind of sucked. I'm like, hey, but like, bro, you're the champion. Why wouldn't you care? Like, that means you're kind of like the head of the channel. And he just never talked to us ever since. We try to recruit him, but so what we did to improvise, I won the ACW champion again, which I mean, I guess it's kind of like changing titles. I guess it's good because we needed a new champion that needed a wrestler that was a part of ACW that you'll be seeing him every week.
Yeah.
So we have another wrestler. He'll win the ACW champion. I think he beat the world champion record that we had, the 149 days. So he won the champion. He'll show up the next episode. He'll have another match. Show up the episode after that. Then he won't be a part of it anymore. He's the kind of person that won't be a part of it unless if you kind of bribe him. Which to us, like that's not the point. Like we won't pay you to be a part of it because this is for fun. We're doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the person that, as I mentioned earlier, that is kind of in it for the money. Which I mean, I can't blame him because a lot of people would want to do that, but Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like for example, like your statement that you wanted to be a part of it because it looks so fun. Like if we had like your kind of people in my town, like that would have just been awesome. Because like
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to book you badly because if you're like kind of like dedicated to it, or if you really want to be a part of it, then like we'll have like a great time with you. But like with these people that kind of had problems with us, it kind of like we'll have an issue right there. So after that, after this kid wouldn't want to be in ACW without bribing him or something, I had to win the ACW champion again. So I was the first ever 3-time champion. Like what people don't know behind the scenes, like sure I may have been the first person to win the ACW champion 3 times, but to me, like I never wanted to be the 3-time champion because I wanted to
Yeah.
let other people know. And sure I might be overrated because the way of booking, but like remember, like I'm not trying to have bad booking. It's just like the people that are making the problem,
Yeah.
like that's the reason why we have to change it. And I mean, sure, I might, be the head of ACW, which I mean, I guess it's kind of good to, have, but like, I wish there was a way we could have changed it. I wish we could have had, these 5 people being like the pillars of ACW, but it's kind of hard. Like people kind of like screwed you over, and when you have to book it, because not a lot of people will feel like, not a lot of people are dedicated to the work you put in as you. Like for example, like
Yeah.
I'll be the kind of person that would be wrestling on the snow, not only because it's a fun idea, but like we not necessarily we have to, but like it's kind of like our responsibility. Like let's say that, because a lot of people think that we have to make videos every week. It's not that we have to. It's just it's kind of like our responsibility because we have like a fan base that supports us, and we can't let them down unless if we could
Yeah.
like come up with something where like, hey, unfortunately we couldn't do it, but like hang on till like 2 more weeks, and we have like a big show or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like from the story I just told you, like what not a lot of people know, like they may think that oh, this guy puts himself over every time. The story is I was never meant to do that. Like not even personally, like I would have never done that, but like the way they left us,
Yeah.
then like
Oh,
that's just something that not necessarily I never liked my run in ACW, but like there's just some parts where, man, I shouldn't have done that, but I had to, and it wasn't pretty to do it.
yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest people that kind of embody what you was talking about was Nate Miles. He was one of our top IC champs for a minute there, and he showed a lot of promise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And he was for the most part fun to be around,
Mm-hmm.
and we had built him up for months. And the people, all the fans were begging us to put the title on him, put the title on him, and we finally did. The day we put the title on him was the last time we saw the dude in the company.
Dang.
And it's like you build someone up so much and you invest so much time and so much effort just for them to dip, right? And just for them to leave and to give up. And it's like you see people like that, right? The people that aren't committed, that are getting these opportunities. And then it makes me even more angry because it's like I was at WWA for, I think this October would have been 6 years.
Okay.
No, 5 years. This October would have been 5 years. And it's like, you work for a company for so long, and then you don't get the opportunity. With you, you've had to put the title on yourself because someone left, right?
Mm-hmm.
People's gonna say, you're overrated. You keep putting the title on yourself. Okay, they don't know the full story.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, sometimes you shoot yourself in the foot because you try to throw the title on someone that the fans want, but that long term won't be useful.
Mm-hmm.
So, like again, the frustration that I have, and it's not just with WWA. Me and Carson and Luke, still text an insane amount, and we hang out with each other. And me and Carson are still really good friends. It's like the booking and the way that everything happened with the company and like with the channel. It's like it's one hand frustrating that it all just crumbled whenever I got my opportunity, but it also is so painful to hear about because it's like I'm 16 and I've still got a lot of energy and a lot of yarding left in me. But now
Right.
you look at it and it's like I don't have a home channel to go to.
I
And
know that feeling.
and the only channels that I could go to are in states that are hours and hours of a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember when Luke and Carson and them first went to MEBW. They went there years ago.
Okay.
I was supposed to go down there, but I wasn't. Like I was supposed to go with my dad. My dad was working that weekend, but he was off work the next weekend, and he was full ready to drive me up to Michigan. They were filming, that one weekend. Then they had a break. Then, like the weekend that I was supposed to go up, Tommy Gunn decided just to cancel anything that I had, and his words were, "quote If he was a Matt Thunder or Jack Delta level guy, I would move their taping for him. But he's not good enough."
Wow.
And it's like, I know I can out wrestle plenty of people in the yard. Now
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of guys I have a ton of respect for.
Mm-hmm.
But what I told, Luke, when if I do plan on getting trained, I want to be considered the 5-tool player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fantastic. I don't try to prop myself up, but I'm better than most in the ring. I'm better than most
Mm-hmm.
at wrestling. I'm better than most on the mic. I'm better than most carrying myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why that no one ever considered me at that level was because I was never given the booking to be on that level. And it's like, I mean, we've already gone for over an hour, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could sit for days and just depict on how I was screwed out of opportunity after opportunity. And it's like, you look at the name Gabriel White, and, I don't want to say I'm a household name, but I'm pretty popular on the backyard circuit.
Right. Because when I hear your name, I feel like, he's got the moves. Like if you give him a match with any other wrestler, like he'll probably may not win the match. Like depends how booking it is, but like you'll be like, dang, like he kicked ass throughout the match.
Yeah. The one thing that I've always tried to pride myself on, I've faced people like Scotty Miller, people like, um, I forget what we called him. It was like Quentin
Mm-hmm.
Tyler. People like that you can't work with. They've never wrestled. They have no clue what they're doing.
Right.
But the thing that I always like to carry with my name is that I've never had a bad match.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a watchable, good match.
Right.
And it's like being in the mid card, right? You get to face more variety of talent. But it's like I could have, there's so many matches I still want to do, but it's like I could have been a legend in the yard. But
Mm-hmm.
because of the way that I was booked, I was just forced to sit on the sideline for 5 years.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying like I want to experience, what you felt, but like to me, I was the booker, so like, I was in charge of how our show went. But like, it was kind of hard because I wanted to like, be a backyarder instead of being a booker, because those two are like, I mean, I think you were a booker as well, but like being a booker and a wrestler, are pretty much different, because I always wanted to experience someone telling you, okay, you are gonna have a match with him, then from there
Yeah.
you get to tell the story. But like once you're being told, hey, you're off the main event, like sure, it might be like, bro, like why, like I was doing so good, the fans like me, they want to see me, now you're pulling me out, like why? But like what I'm trying to say is, being able to like not actually like run it, but like just being able to like, participate, like that's just a great feeling to do. Like it's a
Yeah.
shame I never actually had a chance to experience something like that. But like I know you didn't had, the experience that you wanted, but like at least you had, some moments, like matches, like that you did your best, how you never had a bad match, sure, it might not have been like, the 10 out of 10 match, but like, you
Yeah,
did your best, and that's what
exactly. Yeah.
matters. Because
That's
like with,
why.
go
Or no,
ahead.
you keep going. I interrupted you.
Okay. Because what I was gonna say is like in ACW, like I'm like not almost in every match, but like you get the concept. Like I'm in the
Yeah,
match. I may
yeah,
win, I may lose, but like because to me, like I don't see other people kind of carrying the show, carrying the company
yeah,
as I did. I'm not saying that because I'm the best at whatever, but I'm just saying that because like I wanted people not only to lose faith or interest in the product that we're producing, but like I want to show them that just because one guy's not giving their effort in this match doesn't mean you have to give up on the match because the other guy's he's outselling or outperforming
yeah,
whatever. Because that was kind of our problem with ACW. Sure, we may have the guys, but they wouldn't let's say we do a spot and they're gonna end up bursting. They end up laughing, but I can't blame them because it's for fun. But like sometimes I
yeah,
want to try to make it look serious, but I wouldn't like force them to like me and my friends, like we're too like close, we're too good friends who like just be too serious because we always have a good time, and that's the point of it, having a fun time. But
yeah,
like there's a difference between having fun and like backyarding. I wouldn't say like being too serious because that's like in a professional level, but like being
yeah,
having fun from backyarding, it's kind of like up there because you could be yourself, but like you have to be yourself enough to actually be looked at from a fan's point of view. Because if a fan's looking at you right now, like sure there might be some botches, but like that's the point of it. It's about having fun. Hopefully it's not like a bad botch that ends up like injuring yourself or whatnot. But like if it's a botch where like you try to do a suplex, but like you trip yourself and like hopefully nobody gets hurt, and it's like if it looks like it's funny, you laugh because it happens to everybody. Like you're just having a
yeah,
fun time, but like when you're having a match and you're outselling them, and when it's your turn to like start beating up the heel, and the heel is not actually like selling it good, it actually like ticks you off because it's kind of making you look bad in front of the
yeah,
camera, and you can't just say oh he's not maybe he's not feeling well, maybe that's why he's not selling right, but like you have to when you're on camera, you're different compared to like,
yeah,
me and you when we're on the podcast, we're just being ourselves. We're expressing from the heart. But when we're on camera, not only we're expressing from our heart, but like, we're giving the blood, the sweats, the tears to, not
yeah,
necessarily outperform each other, but, just trying to be the best. Not exactly the better between us, but like just doing our best. Just, providing the
yeah,
fans what they, would want to see.
yeah. I think that's the reason why I stopped booking the shows because like I would book I'd help Luke and Carson book, and I would be so involved, and then I kind of like lost the sense of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I kind of told them, I said, I don't want to book. I just want to wrestle. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
what to do. I'm gonna go on screen and I'm gonna perform my heart out.
Okay.
So like I say, I never had a bad match. I'm not saying I've always had 5-star matches. I probably have had a few 3-star matches.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always be perfect, but there's like a sense of if you are consistently at a level facing these people that won't sell, these people that won't try to help you, if you're still consistently being just at another league at this kind of stuff, there should be opportunity. And that's the kind of the biggest thing that I've been trying to tell other people when they ask me about why WA ended so poorly and why I don't have many good things to say about how the channel ended, because I hate when opportunity just is thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you go on camera and like you were saying, you have to be someone else on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like and it's kind of like you're living another life.
Right.
You're at home and you're this, I would say, at home and backstage, I'm like the, happy-go-lucky, like I'm a jokey kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I get on camera, I was a jerk. right? I was straight serious. And it's you're living two different lives and you're committed to it for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like seeing opportunities slip and go down, like, and just like leave. It's something that like it just leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth.
Okay. Well, no, cause when you like from all the episodes, all the episodes of Beyond the Yard, I'm liking this one, cause and it like to me like an average Beyond the Yard episode, like we're talking about like their best matches or like their origin stories or like their future goals, but like with this episode, like what I'm vibing with this one is that like not only we get to tell the people behind the stories, but like we get to tell people how we felt,
Yeah.
because like on camera, like people see us, like we're like the heel in the channel, we're the champion, or like we're this and that, but like behind the camera, not a lot of people know our frustrations, like how you said,
Yeah.
like I was supposed to be the main event, but like they pull it from me. Sure, on camera they'd be like, oh, he's not gonna be in the main event. Oh well, let's see what happens in the future. But like that moment, you're like, you put this so much effort, and they're not looking at you how you should be looked at. Then that's just wrong, man.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not, I don't want to say this and portray a bad light, to how I would like to the bookers. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But like when people, because people, have been curious about the story, my side of the story for a long time, because I mean, you look at all the people involved in WWA, right? And all these people had a long tenured career, at least that wanted one.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the one black sheep of the yard. I'm the one that is constantly overlooked, and I'm always trying to grab that attention. I want to be the man. I want to be that. And I've heard a lot of good things about this podcast. People saying their favorite matches. And I
Mm-hmm.
would dare say I don't have a favorite match. I love them all. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love working. I don't think there's anyone I'd probably complain with working with. I worked with some stiff people, but like I loved everyone that I worked with. I loved everything about the art except for the fact that you built something that took half of a decade
Mm-hmm.
and one weekend based off of one booking decision. 5 years of your life just came tumbling down in a minute, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going pretty long, but like if I ever come back on the podcast, ask me my top 10 favorite wrestlers, the top 10 guys I love to work with, my top 10 matches, and I
Mm-hmm.
have all those. It's not that I'm saying I hate yarding, because I mean I think one of the biggest things that people's going to be questioning is if I'm done yarding,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer is simply no. I still
Right.
have a lot left in the gas tank,
Mm-hmm.
and even there's opportunities where I can't be a wrestler. I'll manage. I'll be an
Right.
on-screen personality. It's like I have worked way too long and way too hard to let this opportunity die and just sit there and cry over. So if there's kind of one message I want to portray, it's that yarding isn't fun all the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be, but there's stress, there's friendships that go bad, there's all these bad things. But it's like, I don't know if you after he got fired from WWE.
Yeah, I remember that.
You don't just quit. Bad booking ruined 5 years of my yarding career. That's not
Mm-hmm.
over.
Right.
I'm not done yet. If you got
Like-
more left
Mm-hmm.
if you got more left in the gas tank, then keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's
Yeah.
there's so many opportunities that I still want to embark upon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I just want people to know the reason why that I don't talk a lot about WWA and how it ended was because the reason why the channel mostly ended is because it all resorted around my reign and my ending of the company, and they scrapped it, and there's nothing to build upon.
Right. Well, now that you mentioned that, like, that's true. Like, you've done all this and that. you feel um like you're not finished with what you started. Like maybe you didn't end it off how you wanted to end off, and that's fine because it happened. Like maybe it didn't happen because you wanted to, but maybe it happened because the way things ended. But that doesn't mean you could just give up right away. Like what I like about Dre Maverick, like he's not your average wrestler. He's not like a big wrestler.
Yeah.
Sure, he's his gimmick is different, but like that's what I like about him because he's not an average wrestler. And his release video like that hit me because he's just a guy that cares about what he's doing, and just being released, that's just a guy's nightmare, because you don't want to experience something like that, especially from something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's and he put it best. No one can fire you from wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
No one can stop you. There will always be another opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With the thing that happened with WWA, right? It's a major roadblock because it's like it makes you question if it's worth it to get back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You work so long and hard and nothing, and it's like,
Right.
do I really want to try this again? Do I really want to give another go at it? Do I really want to try and have one more dream match? Do I want to have one more segment to prove why I think I should be the best? But then you look at the grand scheme of things, it's like, right now, I'm not going to say that I'm the most interesting person in the yard, but
Mm-hmm.
people are really curious on how my story's going to end.
Right.
There's so many yarders that have gone pro. There's so many yarders that have just quit yarding and they're kind of done, and fans don't worry about that. My story, people can tell, isn't over. It's like they want to know where to go from here. And I feel like it's a disservice to what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to, prove by quitting. Mm-hmm. If people think that you could give more and you can give more, then just go give more.
Right. Like the moment I dislocated my knee, like I never experienced anything like that before, and especially in the leg, because that's the worst injury you want to have on the leg. Because with the leg, you walk, from point A to B, and that's where you need your strength from, like jumping from the top rope, or like holding a person that's really heavy. But when I dislocated my knee, like when I was on the way to the hospital, because they picked me up from the ambulance on the trampoline. And, it was pretty funny because, I never been in an ambulance, I have to be, I actually had to, they put, stretcher onto a trampoline, like that plastic thing. I don't know what's called. But anyways, they put me onto the ambulance from the trampoline. And to me, I thought it was funny because, I was like joking. I was joking to them. I was like, so this is what professional wrestlers feel like when they get injured in the wrestling ring. So anyways, I was, on the way to the hospital. I was in an ambulance, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, is this how I'm going to go out? Especially the moment. Because I drove 6 hours to a different state to have my dream match, to have, my crossover moment, just to get an injury that, could have been prevented, could have not, who knows,
Yeah.
But, I was like thinking, like, maybe I may not have expressed it on the outside, but inside, I was going with a lot of emotions, because in the beginning of the year, on January, the first day of January, I made the 2020 promo where, I call out Maximus Strowman, I call out Matt Thunder, I call out Jake Frost, I call out Caution from TWF, where we get to him in a bit. But so I call out these wrestlers from these federations, and which at the time, the wrestlers from their federations, before they went pros, or before, they stopped backyarding, they existed, or like, they were still active. But like when I was, looking at my dislocated knee, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want to lie to the fans and saying that I can't do this anymore, because I don't know, well, what would be my outcome. Like, I would love to do this. I would still love to finish what I started, like in my head, what I try to vision, what I try to show to the people, that, what I want to do. Because sure, I may have been a booker to my own show, which, it's not exactly a good thing or a bad thing, but like it's just complicated to myself.
Yeah.
Because not only, I had my own show, but I wanted to do my that would, be involved with other channels. So it's like a crossover, but you're crossovering yourself to other federations. You're trying to promote yourself to other federations, which, I mean, at the time people are conflicting, or like they're conflicting with that. They're saying, "Oh, look at this, just because you call using our name or using big action just to call us out, thinks that you're worthy." But like, it's kind of hard to promote yourself without being criticized. And
Yeah.
criticize is not always bad, because that would help you keep pushing forward. But when I try to call them out, I'm not calling them out so I could sound tough or anything. I'm calling them out because, not necessarily get noticed, but like actually like get their attention. Because if I could get their attention, I want to communicate with this person personally, so we could talk about what we could do, so we could be able to work to each other, with each other, and see what we could do, not only for our fan base, but what we could pull off. And like, if people enjoy it, then probably do a rematch next year or something like that.
Yeah.
But ever since I got dislocated when I was wearing my knee brace, I had to made a episode of ACW where I was kind of not necessarily retiring, but I was going to be out of action, which kind of sucked, because in ACW I was like the guy that would put a lot of effort behind it. But when the guy that puts a lot of effort behind it and he's not competing anymore at the time, then like people kind of lose interest, because I wasn't trying to make myself the top star. The point was like making other people the top star. But the problem was they wouldn't put the effort that I did. And I wouldn't say it was my problem, because I didn't train them, but like they just didn't want to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But luckily, my once my leg was like almost healed, but not 100%, I did my best to actually like come back to backyard wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
sure, I may not have done the exact same stuff that I used to do, like where I used to pick up people, because our trampoline was like built different, because we put like mattresses under it, so not only it could support, but like we could actually like be able to stand on a trampoline instead of that bouncing maneuver. But on J&A's trampoline, like their trampoline was like so trampoline. I don't know if that's even a real word, but like their trampoline was so bouncy that it wasn't as stiff as our trampoline was. Probably that was my fault, because I got so used to it with that. But I came back and I kind of felt great about it, because like, to me, I like to watch my own product, because it just feels cool, like if you get to watch yourself on YouTube channel or on TV. That's what I like to call YouTube sometimes. When you get to see yourself on the screen, then that just feels good, because not only you created this, but like hopefully other W that are a part of ACW, when they see themselves, like sometimes they'll be thinking like, wow, like that's pretty like cool, like I actually did that, like wow. It's just like a cool feeling. It's kind of hard to explain for someone's different point of view compared to my point of view, because I see their point of view differently than mine, because not only I see my product doing well, but like I also want to see it as a fan's point of view. I want to see Derrick Destroyer versus the Atomic Atom in a one-on-one match. Like I want to see that happen, but it's kind of hard because I have to make that happen. And if it doesn't happen, then not only it screws my booking over, but like it screws up the potential matches that we could have had, or like the future storylines that we could have had afterwards. But 2020 was just a bad year to do it. Luckily, next year, hopefully everybody got better. We had with the virus that was going around at the time, it was pretty dangerous, because we never felt anything like this. But next year, I had my dream match. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was Derrick Destroyer versus Caution. I don't know if you heard of that match before.
I heard about the match. I don't know if I ever saw the match though.
Okay, so that match was 3 years in the making. We started it, I think, in 2019. So like throughout our channels, we were feuding with each other. It's like we'll make comments like, "Hey, Derrick Destroyer, if you're watching this, pay attention," or "Yo, Caution, you think you're all this and that? What are you doing? Let's do it our match, this summer." Because the original plan was for him to travel to us, but that didn't happen. So next year, my plan was to travel to him, but not only my leg got dislocated, but COVID happened. But the year after that, 2021, like I talked to him because me and him were good friends. Like even though we never met each other, like we were just backyard friends. I think that's what brought us together. And the moment we actually saw each other, like it was like a friendship that was meant to happen.
Yeah.
So we had our match, and boy, what could I tell you? It's a match that I never experienced anything like that. I wouldn't call it a 5-star match because I wouldn't like to, rate it myself. I mean, it was pretty good, like no doubt about it. It was a match I never had before, but like I would also like to see what other people thought of the match because, I would like to share, I want to share their thoughts with mine to see, what they think of, and it's good to hear feedback. But that's what I always wanted to try to do is do a crossover because back then everybody wanted to do crossovers because it would like not only help their channels, but it would help, the fan base. People could be like, wow, like the multiverse is real, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. But like backyard crossover, like that was our version of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Because we got to, witness something that, in backyard wrestling community has never witnessed before.
Yeah. I will
I'll go right ahead.
I'll say that people like I've had so many dream matches and people I've had the pleasure of facing, but the people that I think are the not I don't say the biggest inspiration to me, but I think convinced me the most to keep pushing forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 people I'd probably say right now. That's Matt Thunder. I mean, he's now Kyler Coleman on the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Bannon and Joe Erebus.
Okay.
If you know the 3 things about those people, those are the 3 dream matches that we've never gotten to see.
Wow.
I've heard I don't want to say hundreds, but I've heard plenty of people tell me that me versus Matt Thunder will go down as the greatest dream match that never happened.
Man, I would have loved to see that, to be honest. Like, I would have just, got the bag popcorn, pop a bag of popcorn and just watched it. I want to see it happen, but I hate when things don't happen. It just sucks.
Yeah, and me and him, I've talked to Matt about it, or I mean Zach, but about like having this dream match, and it just never happened,
Mm-hmm.
and me and Eddie Bannon, we had a huge match planned, but it never happened.
Okay.
Me and Joe Erebus had this big match planned that was supposed to be filmed that weekend that the company went under or whatever. And it's like those 3 people motivate me so much because it's like that's what I need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's a finish line that keeps moving away from you. And it motivates you to keep running towards it. Right. The only way I will ever face Matt Thunder in the history of the world is if I keep going right now. I get trained and I go to Michigan and find him somewhere on the indie circuit. And
it's not possible. I mean, it's not impossible. Like anything could happen, like if you work for it, anything is possible.
But there's so much work to be done.
I know.
It's like, imagine if people see Gabriel White versus Kyler Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
That dream. There's so much left to accomplish, and it's like, what are you working towards? It's like I'm working towards 3 matches that may never happen.
Right.
People like Owen Orion. Owen Orion, in my opinion, is going to go down as the most underrated wrestler of all time.
Mm-hmm.
People like, Ken Havoc, right? Jack Delta. People that have greatly inspired me. I think that, since Delta is still, squirming around on the, backyard wrestling circuit somewhere, I think me and Delta could have one more go at it.
Right.
And it's like, there's still so much left to accomplish. And it's not as much what you have accomplished or what's happened in the past. It's what are you working towards?
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I'm picking a goal that I might not never see. I don't know if me and Matt Thunder's ever going to have the dream match. Even if he does see this, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but that's what I'm
Right.
going to work towards because it makes you keep pushing and going further.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I could relate because, to me, I wouldn't classify myself, as the top guy. Sure, I was the top guy of ACW from, people's point of view, but like, I wasn't really, to me, I felt like I wasn't really the top, backyard wrestler. I mean, sure, I kind of like said it because, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, but like Maximus Roman, Matt Thunder, you know, Carson Michaels, for example, they're top guys from their, federations. Like they're well known because, the talent, the skills, the performance they do, you know, they get
Yeah.
they get to be known as, not exactly the greatest, but like really well known. Like to me, like I don't know if I'll say like what am I well known for, like
Yeah.
like that's what I kind of feared, like I never not exactly had the same success because like I wouldn't really want to have the exact same success as there, but like I want to have my own success. Like I want
Yeah.
to, be like them, but like not exactly be like them, but like be you.
Yeah.
But that's just, one thing that I always think to myself every time, I look at like last time I was watching the EBW Last Stand, like you heard about, their last show.
Yeah.
So I was watching their last show and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, I wish I could have, been up there, been well known in the community. Like maybe I am well known in the community. I don't know, like, cause I don't really am a part of the community, if that makes sense. Like, sure, I'm
Yeah.
a backyard wrestler. Sure, I'm the creator of this podcast, but like, I don't know if I actually like felt that before. Like Maximus Roman, like, he worked his ass off in EBW because EBW not only, had great booking, but it had like great matches, great wrestlers, great, whatever. With EBW, it kind of falls in the same thing as EBW. Like it had like great wrestlers, great storylines, great talents, all that. Like
Yeah.
now that you're telling me with WWA, from your point of view, it's different compared to, Maximus Roman because, he's a top guy while you said that you're a mid Carter. Like, I'm not saying that I could relate with you, but like I could understand your frustrations. I
Yeah.
just I just wish that not necessarily had I wish I could start all over, but like I just wish, I could have done things differently or like,
Yeah.
done better things. Cause like to me, I live in Kansas, and that's like right in the middle of the United States. When I see the big, federations, they're like, at the eastern side or the western side of the
Yeah.
country. But like JNA, like they're Nebraska, they're like one state on top of us. But like, they're doing pretty good because their crew, they were like not exactly consistent, but like they were consistent within each other. Like they were, you know, perform respectfully to each other, which in ACW it didn't really have that same connection. But
Yeah.
compared to other federations, what I just want to say about that is that I just wish, you know, not I don't want to let people know my frustrations. Not that it's bad to let them know, but like I just wish. Well, I mean, I would like to share with them, but I just wish
Yeah.
I could have done things differently. I wish Derrick Destroyer was up there with Maximus Strowman, was up there with Matt Thunder,
Yeah.
there. Oh, I'm busy.
I definitely think that if people, and again, like you, there's so much story left to be told, and I feel like if people like me and you and Owen O'Ryan were given the opportunity to prove just how good we really are,
Mm-hmm.
then it would shake the whole landscape of backyard wrestling as we know it.
Right.
All right, but due to a mix of it being very late and my phone being very low charged, I think and I would love to come back,
Oh,
talk some
definitely.
more.
Like, just because we talk for a long time doesn't mean
Yeah.
this is gonna be the only episode. Like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
what I love about the podcast because we could keep going and going and going.
Now, so I'd love to come back. This episode was kind of morbid, very depressing because, I kind of shot it straight and said that
Mm-hmm.
my time as the yarder actually wasn't all that great. But if you do want to end off with any question, I will answer any question in the world you have for me right now.
Okay. Before I answer the question, I just want to say, like I like what you said, because this ain't your average, podcast episode where
Yeah.
you get to hear, their origin stories, or like hear about, their success in their federation, or like what they're gonna do, their future goals. But like how you said that this was kind of like a depression,
Yeah.
look at it like that's what I like, because we get to, tell people how we felt, how we
Yeah.
experienced, stuff like that. Because not a lot of people know what we do it. Like
Yeah.
with Matt Thunder, like he was talking about, that how he is well known because, he's put a lot of effort behind it. But like with you, it's different because
Yeah.
you put a lot of effort, but like I'm not saying like where you are right now, but like look what they have done to you, let's say.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, that's just crazy. Like we've been talking for almost 2 hours and like we're still not
Yeah.
done.
That's crazy.
Right.
I will say that I mean it does help, when getting this kind of stuff off your chest. But this stuff is kind of needed for people to realize that yarding isn't smiles and rainbows. Yarding is a lot to take in. A lot of
It's
stress.
like an iceberg, for example.
Yeah. But all right. Any question in the world you have for me right now, I'll answer it.
All right.
If you want to ever want to do this again, I'm totally willing to come back. But right now, one question.
Okay. This is gonna be like the one question, but this question is gonna be really, really big for you. Are you ready?
All right. Totally.
All right. This could be a two-parter, but like I guess I'll save the two-parter for another time. But the question I want to ask you, Gabriel White, what got you into professional wrestling?
Oh, let me try to think of the exact moment.
Okay. Go right ahead.
All right. So when I would say 7 years old.
Wow.
I think it was a random episode of Monday Night Raw. I cannot remember.
Do you kind of remember what was going on?
The only thing I remember was John Cena. The only thing I remember.
Okay.
Little me loved John Cena with a passion. And then as I got older, I learned more about the industry. I will open up about this. Most people don't know this. I guess you'd say I'm a church boy, right? I've gone to church my entire life.
Okay.
My youth pastor actually was a professional wrestler.
Wow. That's pretty
and
cool
wrestled at this training facility in northern Cincinnati called Northern Wrestling Federation. That's where people like Abyss, people like Carl Anderson, people like Chris Harris have come out. I'd say I was probably like 9 maybe when he pulled me aside and told me everything there was to know about wrestling. And not the good stuff. All the he had contracts to OVW, right?
Okay.
All the drugs that you was forced to take as a wrestler to go to the WWE and stuff like that. So John Cena made me fall in love with wrestling. But as I got older, I would say my youth pastor made me realize what wrestling was. And ever since then, it's just kind of been like wrestling is something that's like there's just so much to it, and I want to know all about it.
Right.
That's putting a lot into a little story, but
right. No, but that's good. Like, I mean, what religions does your pastor believe in? Wrestling.
We were
no, but that's pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of people. That's not a lot of things that you hear every day. Like, what got you into wrestling? Oh, my pastor.
Yeah.
That's just something cool.
Yeah. My story to getting into wrestling, to getting into yarding, and my exit from yarding. Of course, like I said, I'm definitely not done. People should be looking. I don't want to say this, maybe not this year, maybe this year. I don't want to answer it, but the near future, I'm coming back to wrestling. And it's like, but my whole story from start to finish is the exact opposite of anything you've ever heard.
That's good to hear. This is not the end of Gabriel White, because why would Gabriel White go out with a bang without facing Derrick Destroyer.
Oh,
I was looking at myself in the mirror saying that I got a grin out of it. I said it with passion. I want to see Derrick Destroyer versus Gabriel White.
I will definitely say this. There are not many dream matches left in the yard from.
I know. That is for sure right.
But there are still a few people that I've never gotten to face, or that I want to do over with.
Right.
And I will say the name Derrick Destroyer has been thrown around, in some of my, DMs about dream matches to face.
Interesting.
So I will say this, okay? If it's not this year, if it's not next year, this I'll say. I'm only 16. I got plenty of time. So for the people that's listening, that's wanting this dream match, I'll say it's probably a win, not an if. So, we haven't talked too much about it, but I will say, Gabriel White, Derrick Destroyer is a match that has been brought up to me. People want me to face Jack Delta again. People want me to face Ken Havoc again. And I will dare say that out of those 3 dream matches, you've kind of been one that I've thought more about because, we've never had the opportunity to face each other.
Right.
Pardon me. So for the people that's wondering, my yarding career is not done. I'm coming back soon. And if you want to see Gabriel White, Derrick Destroyer, if I get enough DMs about it, we'll put it in the works. Because I'm open to it. If people want to see it and I want to do it and you want to do it, it's going to get done.
That's good to hear. And I'm just saying this. I had my dream match that was supposed to happen 3 years ago. And there's been people that never give up faith on. Neither did he, neither did my opponent, neither did I. So after those years, I did whatever I best could have done. So I drove in across the country, like literally from Kansas all the way to North Carolina, just to have my dream match. Now, just imagine what happens between, you and me. Just imagine, it's possible. Let's say that. It's possible.
It's very possible. But, man, this has been incredibly fun. Even though it's been kind of sad, it's been very fun.
I know. Like, to me, like, I don't see it. Like, sure, it might be sad, but, like, it feels good to, like, put it on the table.
It's very, very much needed. People need
They need to hear this.
They need to broaden their horizons too. And even though this is, a sad story, and this is going to go down as probably one of the greatest, I've been told. I can't remember. It was I want to say they were like a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. They said Gabriel White will go down as the greatest what if in wrestling. And the thing that people just don't know is that if this gives backyard wrestling character, like as a whole, it's like there's a lot that you don't know about. So whenever you see people talking crap online or whatever, it's probably more real than what you're thinking it probably is.
I know. Right.
So if I leave anyone with the message, right, as my farewell for this episode.
Your outro. Okay, go on.
You will lose opportunities. Windows will close, doors will slam in your face.
The gap will close.
But no matter how many times you get knocked down and shut out, what makes you is that last time you get back up. Put that on a t-shirt.
Trademark it.
I'm doing it right now. I'm gonna call my lawyer that I don't have. I'm gonna copyright it. It's done deal. That's mine.
That's good to hear. No, I just want to say, Gabriel White, thank you. I can't say nothing else but thank you for being a part of Beyond the Yard.
It's been incredible. It's been a blast. Thank you for having me.
Right. I never experienced anything like this before. So not necessarily you're my first time, giggity, but but I just want to say, thanks for the story, man. Like, I know this ain't the end of it, just like Gabriel White, it's not the end of it.
Yeah.
There's still more.
I do think, now if you want me to come on, sooner, talk about dream matches that I've had and, wrestlers I love to face, more than willing. But I think it'd be really cool to come back on after my yarding career is over.
That would be
Just
awesome.
Just kind of reflect on how far we actually went and how much stuck to my guns and what I was saying.
Right. And one thing I want to state about this real quickly is that throughout the podcast, like, I didn't really see myself interviewing you, but instead, talking to you, like talking to a friend, because that's what other people think about, this podcast. Like, people might think, I'm interviewing you, but like in reality, like, I'm talking to you, I'm sharing moments with you, just having, back and forth talk. I know we never met in person, or not yet, but I also may have not met those persons that I interviewed before on the show, but like, it's good to, be in the same level with them.
Yeah.
No, what were we going to say?
I'll say that for the people that's like, that's listening to this, if they've made it this far, this is a very long episode.
I know. Hopefully, if you are listening to this far, thank you.
I will say this, and I didn't talk to him before this, but this podcast has the potential to be something truly special. And I wholeheartedly believe that this is something that the backyard world needs, for people to kind of realize that, that, like the title of it is, there's a lot of stuff beyond the yard.
No pun intended.
No pun intended at all.
But make a shirt out of it. This has been Beyond the Yard, or something like that.
Yeah. I'll give you props. This has never been done before, and this is much needed. So again, like I said at the beginning, as I said before the podcast, I'll give you credit where credit's due. This is special, and this can change the entirety of yarding and what we thought it was possibly going to be.
Right.
So, I mean, if you guys are watching this, right, spread the word about this podcast. This podcast is something truly incredible.
I have, not that I didn't have the success as a backyard wrestler, but, still being a part of backyard wrestling, that's just still feels great because, I was a part of it. And just because I'm not backyarding as much, but if I'm still being a part of it, then that's just amazing right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't know how late it is. It's 11:37 right now. I just want to say thank you, Gabriel White. Just thank you for being on the show. Thank you for, telling your story. Thank you for telling, what you went through.
I don't want to say it's my pleasure because it was, a tough time, but I did love that, I was able to spread the word about, something this serious about yarding. So,
right. I also got, a chance to actually, tell people, what went behind ACW. They would just see Derrick Destroyer and be like, oh, the top guy, that's it. But they get to see, what behind it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more than what meets the eye.
Right. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, ACW. Not only the ACW Universe, but the backyard community for listening to this podcast. This was probably the second longest podcast I ever done besides BXB. And this won't be the last of Gabriel White. This is just the start of it. All right, everybody. This is Derrick Destroyer and Gabriel White signing off.
Peace.